Market is right where we actually need it to be. I mean, it's been here actually since May 26th, May 15th, May 5th, and then end of April, going into the beginning of April. So I could say from top of the last few months, we've kind of been in the same range, but I could see the breakdown of the highs and Euro NZD. It actually correlates with the dollar. So just because like it just moves similar to it. So it's just the Euro pairs versus the New Zealand dollar. So New Zealand dollar to me, I correlate it with like NASDAQ Tech, US 30, SPX 500 because it's an asset, but Europe against the dollar is also an asset, but Euro against NZD, NZD has been a little bit stronger, if that makes sense. So that's me kind of playing the imbalance in my head. And since it correlates with the dollar, it's like naturally we've already been looking at how the dollar moves. And the dollar is actually right where we need it to be too, finally. It's finally starting to break down of a supply zone is only created whenever, we coming from a top, we get an impulse selling candle, a bearish candle coming from also the supply also, and that pretty much signifies the supply. But before the impulse candle comes down, people should already be able to anticipate it. But that's gonna really require them to just gain control of their thought process towards trading, if that makes sense, like how the market is actually supposed to work because it really is market structure and structure of the market instead of just strategy. Because overall, I mean, we know the dollar has been coming down for a long period of time since the beginning of time because, they inflate the dollar. So that's why the dollar has a natural decline. But even within this natural decline, we have been consolidating since last year, so 12 months. Which is kind of crazy to think about because I've been trading since 2017. And it's just like one thing that I try to articulate to people is that we don't understand, like we don't know what we don't know, if that makes sense. Because it's just like even when COVID came, and this was COVID, what is it? 2020. Oh yeah, here it is. So it started like that February, March. Oh yeah, that's kind of funny to even think about. Let me mark that actually. So that COVID, this was like the first, I would say, pandemic that I've experienced. But it's just like every pandemic is the same. But a pandemic as a trader, it's just like you always want to see what's the approach to it, if that makes sense. So I remember swine flu, I remember the Zika virus. So it's just like if history repeats itself, then it's just like COVID, hindsight 2020, it makes sense now in 2026. But when I was in the moment, new millionaire, made my first million in 2019. I didn't understand the situation, if that makes sense. But at the same time, if the fundamentals is kind of like the accelerant to the gas, the gas to the car, then it's like, okay, COVID coming out basically gave the market a reason to go ahead and sell off to the extent that he did. But now it's just like even before the market decided to decline, we had a period just like we have now where there was a couple weeks of just consolidation, and that was between well, I would say it really was consolidation kind of through 2019, but then it started branching out right before COVID came down. But then it's still the rules of a downtrend because every high got lower every single time. And then the dollar's on a natural decline because of inflation. So fast forward to 2026, we still see the market making the same moves. And the only way that I will buy a dollar is if we got a break in structure to the upside, retest to the upside, and then take off because this area of structure is really being manipulated because well, yes and no, because there's two things. We shouldn't be at this high where we are now, but we've also, if we look closely, have closed beneath the lower low of this high that we're not supposed to be at anyway, if that makes sense. So, and you see where I just marked this red horizontal line right here?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where a perfect retest should be, but that perfect retest already got retested July last year. That's when I actually that's exactly when I was doing that big giant account flip last year. So we're in the same area of structure, and The way that I trade is the common denominator. My approach to the market is the common denominator because I have a sane state of mind when it comes to this market because it only moves two ways. And even though the third option is consolidation, it has to move in the direction of main trend. So if they're still inflating dollars, if the dollars are still in a natural decline and we still have to put our money in assets in order to offset the inflation of the dollar, then it's like we've already got a retest to this bottom. This is our second, third, fourth retest to this in a year. So now it's a matter of let's watch the lower time frames break down. The daily chart is just now starting to break down for the dollar of this high, the high that we were already looking at. We see that it fell short of the high of 2025. It fell short this time around, a few months ago when we first started the account challenge. Oh my God. Yeah, you know how we entered those trades? It was in Pepe for March 28th and we was holding it. So we had a perfect entry on that one and it's right here. But that's a perfect retest to where it was already supposed to be rejecting from 2025. So fast forward that, it all makes sense of now we've fallen short, so we can continue to say that this is a high. We already know it's lower than this original high over here, but now this high here is a lower high to not only the original high, but to this most recent high. And then if we're looking for a perfect retest for a downtrend would be the lower low, if that makes sense. It would be the retest to this level here. And that's exactly where we're rejecting from. And now we paying attention to, like we know, when I draw my zones, it's body to wick. So it's like if I was just to put this horizontal ray right at that body, you see how we close specifically underneath this red trend, this red horizontal line too, right there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm paying attention to. So now I know this is a bearish impulse candle, and now we're naturally creating zones, but that's a matter of people being able to do multiple time frame analysis because even with the multiple time frame analysis, see how I'm breaking it down time frame to time frame. I don't have quarter points on mine because I can naturally see the supply and demand, but the quarter points I put for you guys in case you can't naturally see it and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
quarter points, zones, and trend lines, they all are a part of supply and demand, if that makes sense. But then it's still understanding how the market works. What's the rules of a downtrend? What's the rules of an uptrend? And the dollar should be in a natural downtrend because of this fundamental fact that's historical. And then from the downtrend, let me identify where my perfect retest should be. If I know that I've drawn my zones wick to body, and this one is body to wick right here, we drag it across. And it's this will be forever as long as price wants to stay in this area. The zones, since they come from the higher time frame for the most part, you're not going to see it from the lower time frame zones, but your higher time frame zones, you could use that zone over and over and over again if that makes sense. But your lower time frame zones are going to be the ones that change often. But it's like it's rare that I have to change my chart a lot. But since I'm finishing up the last bit of the course, that's why I had to remark everything. But then it's even giving me more of a conviction of the market's doing exactly what we want to do, and we have been getting ready to do this account challenge. I mean, we've been doing it since March 28th right here. We got a perfect retest over here, but now it's just a matter of showing everyone like there's nothing else to change. Now it's just a matter of patience, and the patience is the hardest thing for a lot of people because they don't have conviction on what's supposed to actually happen in the world. And it's just like the attention span of stuff not working out in their favor. So they just, they give up kind of quickly on it. But it's just like, I trade. This is what I do. I don't do anything else. I've only traded since 2019, so I have no choice but to wait for the market to do its thing because I always say that people are either going to wait for the market to pull a move or they're going to have to wait in traffic to go to work. They're going to have to wait in traffic to get back from work. They're going to have to wait at work to get paid. They're going to have to wait 2 weeks to get paid, so on and so forth. So it's just like the patience, it correlates across everything in life, just not in the market. So why are people patient? With jobs and stuff like that and getting to work in traffic, but they can't be patient in the market, and the market has an opportunity to pay more. So right now we're watching the market give us the same entries it gave us from when we first started this account challenge, March 28th this year. And it's almost like a M formation of first leg, we see second leg, third leg. My anticipation is fourth leg because of the close of this high lower than this high, but it's on the daily chart rather than the weekly chart now. All the time frames are starting to break down. And the longer we hold trades, the less manipulation we're gonna have to go through in the market. It's just a matter of letting the market do what it wants to do because there is a fundamental event that will eventually push this dollar down, but we just don't know what that fundamental event is. That's why we have to rely on the technicals to play its part, if that makes sense. You see how I just drug this zone across? This zone that I drew was based off of this candlestick specifically here. But then this candlestick over here, we can see that this was actually what Easter's candle. That's what I'm talking about. So it's just like we don't have no choice but to be patient in the market because it's doing the same move over and over and over again. I know how I want to trade and what my goal to the trading account is. And my goal to the trading account is I'm not used to having to play a part in the market, if that makes sense. Like I treat it as an asset of passive income, and when the market decides it wants to go ahead and trend, then the money just comes. So you can turn $200 into $20,000 into $50,000 without you having to sit there and be in front of the charts. So I can still live